guys, my name is Cash and welcome back to another episode of 2Broke2Boosted, my budget turbo Miata project. So in the last episode, I was finishing up my intercooler piping and making it so the hood was able to close. As you could see here, I'm sort of working on two videos at the same time, so that's not done in this video, but it is done now. In this video here, we're going to be working on making a custom exhaust for this thing. I already have the custom hood dump over there on the floor, and I'm going to be flipping that thing over and making it work as a downpipe and then finishing off the exhaust. So that's what's to come in this video. It should be a good one. Just a reminder, if you haven't checked out my Patreon page yet, the next 10 people that sign up, regardless of what tier, are going to get stickers shipped to them for free. So go check that out. And now let's get into the video. To start out here, I'm going into my little parts storage bin, which is this abandoned shack in my backyard that I built a long time ago. And I'm grabbing this aftermarket muffler and the stock header to work off of. So I'm going to bring these to the garage and then we'll make a plan for what we're going to do for this exhaust. So guys, I'm not thrilled right now. When I put all my parts in here, there were no mice, and I checked the whole thing. I mean, it's a small little shack, and now that I move stuff in, mice decided to also move in. So that kind of sucks. I'm gonna put some mouse traps in here, but that's unrelated to this video, but watch out for mice, they suck. So my game plan is to drop the exhaust that's on the car right now. Right now I have the cap, the mid pipe, and the stock rear muffler on there. So I'll drop those, take a look at everything, get it here on the floor, and then make a plan with what I want to do for my full exhaust. Alright, I've got this thing on the ground. Basically all I needed to do was take off all of the exhaust hangers and it comes right off. To get it to the ground, I did take out one of the bolts here for that rear subframe brace, and I also loosened that side just to spin it out of the way. But now the exhaust is on the ground, I'm going to pull it out and then we could keep going on our custom 2.5-inch exhaust. Alright, so I wasn't sure where I was going to start, but I decided to start at the front of the car and just extend this downpipe down to an area that I could work with and then finish the exhaust to the back. Unfortunately, I am going to be cutting the shark off of here. He won't survive the heat of the exhaust anyway, so I'm just going to cut him off. But to start, I'm going to start here and I'm going to angle this thing this way a bit because this will run into the motor mount if I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and just angle that and then see where this piece of pipe ends up. Alright, we are looking pretty good here. I do have this flex pipe that I'm going to incorporate somewhere. I'm thinking I might put it right here. Basically what I'm doing is sort of estimating the angle that I'm going to need to cut and then cutting it, and I'm sort of just doing a lot of guessing and checking here, but that's actually going very well. If you haven't seen how I made the custom hood dump exhaust to start, that shows you the basic process that I used here, but once again, it's just doing angled cuts, welding stuff together, and then making sure it fits. So I'm going to keep going with this thing, see if I want to put this flex pipe here, and then we're pretty close to being able to end this downpipe and use a V-band to go to the rest of the exhaust. Alright, this thing is finally really looking like a downpipe now. What I need to go ahead and do is clean up everything that was on the original hood dump so I could get nice clean welds on there, and then I'm going to go ahead and MIG weld the rest of this. For the end here where I have my V-band, I'm actually going to have my buddy that does really good welding TIG weld this thing on there, just because this is stainless and this is mild steel, which is tough to weld, especially with a MIG. We're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to MIG weld this thing together right now, and then the downpipe will pretty much be done. Alright, she's all welded up here. Now, some of my welds were definitely better than others. That one looks pretty sweet right there. Some of that looks really good. And then in a couple areas, I did just burn through just barely, so I had to just carefully fill it in. And I mean, it doesn't look as pretty as TIG welding, but it'll definitely be functional. I was trying a different technique over there. I didn't really like doing that, so I went back to the longer continuous beads. But anyway, that should be pretty sweet. So I'm going to have that other piece TIG welded, and then we could get this on the car. This is some good progress right here. Alright guys, so I am now at my buddy Andrew's house and he is doing a fantastic job welding everything. Huge thank you to him for working on this because this is stuff that I absolutely cannot do at my house on my MIG welder. All right, so I got that aftermarket rear suitcase muffler on. Now this is 2 1/4 inch. It's not 2 1/2, but the thing was free, and obviously it's a direct bolt-on part, so I'm just gonna run that thing. I'm looking at this under here, and to start, I'm gonna just cut this exhaust pipe right before the diff, and then weld the part that'll go around the diff and connect to this rear suitcase. So we're making pretty good progress here. All right, so me and my dad just bent this heater hose out of the way. That was a 2-person job. You definitely could do it with 1 person, but we used a jack handle down there and just bent this thing towards the firewall to give myself a little bit more room for the downpipe. Once I really clean this thing up and get it in its final form, this is gonna be heat wrapped and the downpipe's gonna be heat wrapped, and then we'll be in good shape. So I'm gonna get that downpipe in here just to show you what it's gonna look like, and then I'll work on matching up the rest of the exhaust, welding on the hangers, and then the thing will be pretty much done. All right, now I have some exhaust hangers on here. Now these are just made out of probably 3/8 inch rod, and I just bent them right at the end so they don't slip out of the hanger, and I tacked them in place in the stock hanger locations for the car. So I'm gonna try to get this thing under the car on the hangers, get that front V-band hooked up, and then I'll look at what I wanna do for the rear. All right, I'm sort of jumping around here, but here is the finished downpipe that I just finished wire brushing and cleaning up with some denatured alcohol. Now I'm gonna go ahead and spray this thing down with some high heat paint just to give it a little bit of extra protection before I wrap it with that exhaust wrap to just try to prevent rust a little bit, since most of this is mild steel, and then we'll see how it turns out. So let's do it. All right, I'll let that dry for a second, then I'll mist it again. All right, I've got that V-band up front hooked up, and I was going to try to finish this exhaust to the rear before I even cured the paint on the downpipe, but the person that I ordered the flange from canceled my order, so now I have to reorder it, and I'm a bit behind schedule on the exhaust, but that's all right. I'm just gonna get this thing on the ground, run it with the straight pipe, and see how it sounds. Right now I have this Bluetooth exhaust running from the straight pipe there to this rear muffler, so we'll see. All right, guys, so I am now in my car. I have my laptop out in case I need to make any changes on this thing, and I'm gonna hope that it starts up and see how it runs. Now to bake this paint in to start, I need to let the thing start up and idle for 10 minutes and then let it cool down. Let it start up, idle for 20 minutes, let it cool down, and then I'll be able to take you guys on a quick drive to see how it sounds straight piped, even though I'm not gonna be running it straight piped for a long time. So let's see if it starts right up with these changes. Well, it backfires a lot louder than it used to. My battery voltage is a bit low, so I gotta throw this thing on the charger for a sec here. Let's try this again. All right, up and running. All right, from above the car and in the engine bay, it actually sounds pretty good. My dad just made a good point that having a loud car means you can't hear the lifter tick as much, so that's a pro so far. I'm gonna let this thing warm up a bit, and once it comes off of the idle up with the warm up enrichment, I'll see how it'll really sound at idle. I'll give her a couple revs here just so you can see what it sounds like. It's loud and it's pretty raspy. Sights and sounds with the straight pipe 2Broke2Boosted, and honestly so far I really like the way it sounds with this straight pipe. It's really not too loud from inside the car. From outside the car it's probably a different story, but I am still going to hook up that rear suitcase and then we'll go from there. But for now, let's just go for a drive. right now this thing is not fast. Like I said, I'm running it really rich, which also robs a bit of power. It sounds really good though. I mean, you could hear the turbo spooling up, the straight pipe sounds good, and all in all, I mean, this thing is really fun to drive. And like I said, with just this straight pipe, it's not super loud. So I really like it so far. I'm just gonna keep driving it around, show you the sights and sounds, and then once I get that flange in, we'll finish up this exhaust for real. The blow-off noise is absolutely obnoxious, but honestly, I really like it, and I'm happy I put that on here, at least to start. 6 PSI like that. I do have this thing set to cut once I hit 6 PSI, because right now I only have the stock 1.6 liter clutch, which is only good for about 140 horsepower, and I don't want to start slipping that until I have another clutch on hand to put in this thing. So right now this thing is running pretty conservatively, but it is turboed, it is faster than it was stock, and as I put more parts in this thing, it's going to be more and more fast. Use that rear suitcase because I love the deep rumble that I'm getting with this, but I'm gonna put it in there, and if I don't like it, I'll just go back to a straight piped. But I don't know, it's like it's not overly loud in the cabin, and I'm pretty surprised by that, and I'm just so happy right now driving this thing around because this is a blast. This turbo honestly isn't that happy at this low of boost. It really just wants to make more, but like I said, until I have a new clutch on hand and I'm ready to burn this one, then I'm just gonna keep the boost low like this. When I have my new clutch on hand, I will turn up the boost and see where this clutch starts to slip, but for now I'm happy just doing what I'm doing.